It's the Benjamin Dixon Show.
And here we go.
It's the Benjamin Dixon Show.
It's not peace in our time, but peace in all time. I have no fear whatsoever of anybody or anything. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Your mission. Before we go, no man has gone before. To reclaim the American dream, keeping right,
It's the Benjamin Dixon Show. If you're hearing his voice, you're hearing the voice of reason.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I am your host, Benjamin Dixon. We want to thank you for joining us for the ride. It's Friday, and it's time for the weekend. I don't know about you, but it's when the weekend comes, I need it. But then the weekend goes by so quickly. It's just the life. That's the way things happen. Listen, I'm a little thrown off here. I just got across my text message, my news feed, that Leonard Nimoy, Spock from Star Trek, you got to know Spock, died at the age of 83. I mean, that came through right as the show started. So, you know, I am a Star Trek fan. I've been a Star Trek fan all of my life. You can even hear Star Trek in my opening sequence. So Leonard Nimoy, Spock, is dead at the age of 83. It's been a crazy week. Yesterday was absolutely crazy in terms of the news and just in terms of society in general. Yesterday, the same day DC legalizes marijuana, all of a sudden we start seeing llamas chasing each other in a high-speed chase throughout the city. You can't make this stuff up. And then, as if that wasn't bad enough, by the end of the night, we're all debating over whether or not the dress was gold and white or whether it was black and blue. I don't know what the hell the color is anymore. I thought it was white and gold. Matter of fact, it still looks white and gold to me. So, I mean, for all of you that are seeing blue, I don't know what's wrong with your eyes, but my eyes and everyone, 70%, I think somebody says 70% of the world and of course we're talking about the first world. You know, nobody else is concerned with this except for people with internet and social media. But that was just the fun news that was happening yesterday. And I kept trying to be serious yesterday and trying to I ignored the llama story all day long. I ignored it the entire day because I just wasn't going to start talking about llamas. And then all of a sudden this dress comes across the screen and it just all went to hell from there. I couldn't be serious anymore because my wife saw blue and black and I saw white and gold, same computer monitor, same lighting, everything. We just saw two totally different colors, which is, you know, so after that, I just gave up. I said, I mean, everybody must be high now. DC legalizes marijuana and all of us are going crazy. So that was yesterday. Also yesterday, a lot of things happened. Loretta Lynch, nominated for Attorney General. She finally passed the Judiciary Committee. So that was big news yesterday. Also, we are commemorating the third year after Trayvon Martin was killed, was gunned down. A lot of stuff happening in the news. Jihadi John, the ISIS terrorist, who was the British-voiced ISIS terrorist who was beheading the captive journalists, has been identified. So we'll deal with that momentarily. But so, yeah, a lot of things are going on. First thing I want to talk about is the big news in terms of American politics is Loretta Lynch. She is positioned now to be the first African-American female Attorney General. So this is a big first for not just African Americans, but for African American women. So this is a big deal. But it was interesting. She passed the Judiciary Committee yesterday, but she was nominated by President Obama back in November 8th, to be exact. And here we are in February, and she still hasn't been confirmed. And that's kind of a big deal because from my understanding from a report I read that is the longest nomination process in American history. They have made her wait almost 4 months, and it's still not over. Next month she'll go before the entire Senate to get confirmation. And everyone is expecting that she will be the next attorney general. But the fact that they've made her wait so long is ridiculous. And just to put it in context, the president nominated Ashton Carter to be the Secretary of Defense, nominated him on December 5th, 2014. And he was confirmed on February 12th, 2015. About 2.5 months. He nominated Loretta Lynch before Ashton Carter, and she still has not been confirmed, and Ashton Carter has been confirmed. Now, there are some people who are saying this race is involved, and of course, race could play a role in everything. We don't know for sure if racism is playing a part, but I know it's ridiculous, whatever it is. I don't care if they're dealing with the race issue. I don't care if they're dealing with the sex issue. She's a black female. But the fact that you have this Harvard educated attorney, educated bachelor degrees from Harvard, her law degree from Harvard. She is she was a U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of New York. So highly qualified, highly educated, highly recommended, and you're making her wait longer than anyone else in history. I think the thing is, if you don't give us a reason why, Republicans, we are going to assume, we are going to draw conclusions. Like, what is different about her than anyone else that's been nominated previously? What's different about her than Ashton Carter? Why did Ashton Carter come after her and get his confirmation before her? The worst thing that you can do to a person, the worst thing that you can do to anybody, but particularly the worst thing you can do to a black person, is to let someone who came after them get what they came for before them. I mean, that's just the reality. And that's for anybody, not just black people, but just anybody. I'll never forget going, in my little anecdote. It's nothing important, but it's my anecdote, right? I was out with some friends down on South Beach. This was when I lived in Florida, and we ran into this group of girls. I was young, I was single. We met these women. I mean, we were, in our 20s, so they were women. And I decided, yeah, let's take them to dinner. We go to dinner, and we were having such a good time, laughing and talking. We didn't realize we sat there for 45 minutes before we even got our drinks. And then when they brought our drinks, we realized that this white couple who came after us got served and left before we even got our drinks. Now, you know that's problematic. You cannot allow people who come after someone to get what they came for before them. Needless to say, I called the manager over, and we didn't have to pay for dinner that night. Let's just leave it at that. So Loretta Lynch, she's one step closer, which is great news. It's a historical moment. Highly qualified, Ivy League education, first class, prepared to do the job. My only disappointment in this is that Eric Holder is leaving. I'm excited about the opportunity for Loretta Lynch and what that means for black women. But I'm a little disappointed that Eric Holder is leaving shy of being the longest serving. He was one of the longest serving, but he's shy of being the longest serving. I think he's done a great job. I think he's had the tenacity. He's been able to fight off the idiots in Congress who are digging for Benghazi Gate. And, I think he's done a phenomenal job. So just disappointed that he's leaving a little sooner than getting the record for being the longest serving. But I think it's a fair exchange. We're getting a new historical moment, and these don't happen often. So it's a great thing. It's a great day. And so we just need them to go ahead with the final confirmation. That's what we need. So no more delay. And you have to come out with a good explanation why. And I think that's what happened. I believe it was Senator Leahy. He called them on the carpet yesterday, or not yesterday, the day before yesterday, before the vote. And actually, let me correct myself again. It was yesterday. He called them on the carpet and explained that this has been the longest. So let's get it done. So let's send that word out. Let's get it done. Let's get her confirmed. The next Attorney General, Loretta Lynch. So we're excited about that. In other news, Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, I call it Obamacare because, they meant it as a pejorative. They meant it to be insulting, but now it's going to be a legacy. Just like we say Medicare, just like we say Medicaid, we're going to say Obamacare. And so I say Obamacare endearing, with affection. They meant it for evil. I say if it's something positive, it's going to be a monument to him for years to come. But that's if it can pass the next test that it's facing in the Supreme Court. It's facing another test in the Supreme Court, and they have taken a case that the Supreme Court has taken a case that, quite frankly, many legal scholars are saying the plaintiffs have no jurisdiction. There's really no reason for the Supreme Court legally to listen to this case, but they've taken the case. And because I'm not a lawyer, I'm not going to go into the complexities. I've read it and I can't regurgitate it back to you without stumbling over law. But at the essence of the case, the core of the case is that you have four plaintiffs who are upset because, watch this, they are upset because the IRS is offering them a subsidy to help them to get Obamacare, to get health insurance, and save the absence of that subsidy. If there was no subsidy, then they could apply for a hardship and they would not have to get insurance at all. They've taken this all the way to the Supreme Court. That's the crazy. They've gone all the way to the Supreme Court because they don't want help from the government. Now, for some people, that's a badge of honor to say, I've done all this and nobody helped me, or I don't need the government to help me with anything. Right. But now it's at the point where if the Supreme Court rules against the Affordable Care Act, then there are going to be 8 million plus people across the nation who will lose their benefits. One study said that as a result of that, 10,000 people a year will die. I want you to think about that. 10,000 people a year are going to die because of these four plaintiffs who did not want any assistance. They did not want a helping hand. They did not want the subsidy. And now millions of people could lose Obamacare, health care. Now, granted, you have to think about it like this. Out of those 10,000 people estimated that would die a year because they can no longer get health coverage and they can no longer go see their doctor, and they can no longer get assistance with sicknesses. Right. They're just going to be, because anybody who's ever lived without insurance knows that you don't go to the doctor unless your chest is hurting. That's about the only time that you'll go, and you end up going to the emergency room. But because the possibility of them losing Obamacare, now 10,000 people are going to die. And then it dawned on me that out of these 10,000 people every year that will die because we no longer have Obamacare, if the Supreme Court rules against it, some of those people are some of the same people who are excited about losing Obamacare, about opposing Obamacare. So some of these idiots are so excited and hate the president so much that they are going to follow and cheer their way to the grave in opposition of President Obama. Because I guarantee you that out of all those 10,000, they're not all liberals. They're not all Democrats. Some of those 10,000 people every year that are going to die are going to be Republicans. And they're going to die while cheering because they stuck it to President Obama. How dumb can you possibly be? It's sadistic. And maybe they don't realize it. It reminds me of the lady who said, "Get your government hands off of my Social Security." Does she not realize that Social Security is a product of the government? So So maybe it's just not registering with them. The fact that they have coverage now and that they're opposing it, that coverage is going to go away. That's amazing to me. It blew me away to realize when you put two and two together that some of the people who are going to suffer the most from the absence of Obamacare are the people who are shouting the most against Obamacare. Reminds me of the folks in Owsley, Kentucky. They are 95% Republican and 99% white, and they receive the highest rate across the country, disproportionately so, the highest rate of SNAP benefits, food stamps. But they vote with the Republican Party. And the Republican Party is dead set on removing their benefits. So tell me something. How is it? I mean, do you not realize that voting, you hate the president so much, you hate liberals so much, you hate progressives so much that you're willing to take food out of your kid's mouth? That's some potent hate. That you really have to be on another level of antipathy, of bitterness, of vitriol for you to be willing to take food out of your kid's mouth just to spite someone. Because what? Because he's a Democrat? I'm gonna give you that much. I'm not gonna say it's because of his race, right? I'll leave it because you just disagree with him politically, even though everything that he's doing politically and economically is there to benefit you, but you want to oppose it, just like you're opposing Obamacare. So just like these 10,000 people, that blew me away. So in other news, marijuana is now legal in D.C. and it's spreading across the country. The trend is spreading, and we're going to see weed pop up everywhere. Why couldn't they have done this like 10 years ago? What year is this? This is 2015. No, let me go back it up a little further. Why couldn't they have done this like back in 2000, 1999, 2000, when I was in college? Now they want to make it legal. They're making it legal, and DC passed it. But here's my question. All of these people, all of these companies who are poised to make money off of weed, off of marijuana. I mean, there are companies lined up they're preparing to move into the market as soon as this legalization process is finalized. You know, as soon as the prohibition against marijuana is over, they are positioned to make billions of dollars. I mean, I think it was Colorado is making so much money that they have to return some of the proceeds to the citizens. So much money getting ready to be made. What are you going to do with all of the people who are currently serving prison sentences for marijuana? What are we going to do with them? Are we just going to say, too bad you moved too soon? Are we going to overturn their convictions? For instance, Jeff Mazinski serving a life sentence because of marijuana possession. And of course, it was his third strike, right? These states with the asinine 3 strikes and you're out. Third conviction and you spend a life in prison. He's serving his last conviction was a marijuana charge. So he's been in prison 20 years because of that charge and has the rest of his life. Are we going to leave him in prison while all of these companies are going to make billions of dollars selling weed? What about all the boys off the block that were selling weed earlier? Are we going to leave them in prison? So I have a problem with that. I mean, it's a good thing, if you decriminalize something, it's less likely to be. We've seen precedent. Let me start there. We've seen precedent that if you decriminalize something, people are less likely to have an addictive relationship with it. Crime related to it goes down. We've seen this across the world, not just in the United States. But if you decriminalize things, you see a less abuse of it. So it's a good thing. But what are you going to do about all of the people who are suffering from in prison right now because of the war on drugs? That's the problem. That's a problem that has to be addressed. And we can't just leave it at that. It would be the height of hypocrisy for the government to allow companies to make millions and billions of dollars off of a substance that other people are in prison for. Listen, we're just on segment 1. When I come back, we're going to deal with Bill O'Reilly and threatening the New York Times reporter. We got a lot to deal with, not a lot of time to do it in. So I thank you for tuning in to the Benjamin Dixon Show. We'll be back right after this.
Hey, if you're like me, you're probably hearing the news that the economy is getting better, right? But there's one problem. You still don't have a job. Get back into the game with Chance.com, the state-of-the-art online employment connection for the new generation. Get access to millions of jobs on Chance that are actually hiring now. Stop searching for outdated job postings. Log on to Chance.com. Create a profile, and then be found. Make the connection you need to get hired today. If you're serious about your career, you've got to check this out. Chance.com. Get that job. Make that chance with Chance.com. JANZZ.com.
The traditional light bulb, a groundbreaking invention in 1879. It's time we switch to longer-lasting Energy Star light bulbs. They're more efficient than the old bulbs, like a text message is more efficient than a carrier pigeon. And they cut down on our energy costs. Because in our own groundbreaking age, we deserve a light bulb that saves us some cash. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Energy and the Ad Council.
You feel petrified. You're struggling with your mortgage payments, not knowing what to do. You do nothing. But if you do something, you're far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making Home Affordable is a free government program. Call 888-995-HOPE to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about your options. Call 888-995-HOPE or visit makinghomeaffordable.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Treasury, HUD, and the Ad Council.
It's 6:42 p.m. Time for Steve Plotto and his son Dylan to do the dishes. They talk about everything from the yuckiness of girls to the awesomeness of his soccer team. Sometimes they don't talk at all. Then, hey! The dreaded splash fight. It's Dad O'Clock, and it's the best time of the day. Because the smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Benjamin Dixon Show. Buckle up for the ride. Give us a call, 857-600-0518.
Welcome back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I'm your host, Benjamin Dixon. So this week, a lot of things crazy have been going on. But one that stood out the most to me was Bill O'Reilly. I'm going to have to assume that you know who he is. If not, just do a quick Google search. Bill O'Reilly from Fox News has been called on the carpet regarding some lies. Quite frankly, it's just some lies that he's been telling. And he's been called on the carpet. And so his response versus Brian Williams, Brian Williams from NBC News, he gives an apology and he bows out gracefully. They give him a 6-month suspension. And I imagine he's somewhere on vacation contemplating what not to lie about next time. But instead of doing something like that, Bill O'Reilly goes on the attack. And it's par for the course in terms of his personality. If you've listened to him over the years, you know that he's just one of those guys who is just well, you know what? Instead of me talking to you about it, let me let you just hear. I want you to hear how Bill O'Reilly thinks and talks and behaves, and then we can have a discussion about him.
Well, the shut-up line has happened only once in 6 years.
Want to know what I was doing?
Shut up. Shut up about sex. Quiet! Listen, cut his mic.
No,
hey,
that's
shut up! No, you had your 35 minutes. Shut up. It is our duty as loyal Americans to shut up and shut up publicly. We expect every American to support our military, and if they can't do that, to shut up. So you keep your mouth shut.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. And we will leave you with a... I can't do it. We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it, and we'll do it live. F***ing thing sucks.
In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks again for watching. We'll leave you with Sting and a cut off his new album. Take it away.
That last clip is classic. I mean, that's the one from way back when he just lost it over an intern who did something. I don't know what the mistake was. But this is the mindset of Bill O'Reilly. This is his character. This is his persona. This is what he portrays. And so this week, instead of bowing out graciously or gracefully, instead of even being remotely reasonable about it, he decides to threaten a New York Times reporter. Not to mention the fact that he gave a tacit threat against the Mother Jones reporter, David Corn, who actually reported this in the first place. He said that when this is all said and done, that Corn is going to be in the kill zone. And then he tried to excuse that as being slang. Okay. But then later on in the same week, he decides to say, I'm going to come after you with everything I have. Quote, you could take that as a threat. Now, this isn't surprising in terms of Bill O'Reilly, not one bit, because as you can see throughout his career, that's how he carries himself. But it dawned on me, what if this had been somebody else? Matter of fact, what if this had been a black man who said, what if Al Sharpton said something like that? They would have called him a thug and he would have been off the air already. If a black woman had done that, she would have been called an angry black woman and been thrown off the air. If a white woman had done it, they would have called her a radical, angry feminist, and she would have been off the air. I mean, thank God it wasn't an Arab or a Muslim. I know in their world that's the same thing, but in reality, you're not necessarily a Muslim because you're Arab. But if you're Arab or a Muslim and you said something and you threatened a news reporter, not only would you be off the air and called a radical terrorist, a radical Islamist terrorist, but you probably would have got a visit from the feds. So it blew me away that Bill O'Reilly can threaten, and it doesn't matter, he threatened a woman, right? That matters to me, but it doesn't matter to a lot of people. But the fact that he can threaten somebody and no one as much as bats an eye. No one misses. He doesn't miss a beat. Matter of fact, his ratings go up higher. Talk about blatant hypocrisy and privilege. Because nobody else no other group, no woman, no black person, no Arab person, no Muslim, nobody could have threatened a reporter and still be on the air. This is the epitome of privilege. This is the epitome. And then I start realizing, when I thought about it and I started thinking back to Bill O'Reilly, he said it himself. He said it previously. He said that our country, the power structure of our country, is based off of white, male, Christians. White, Christian men. He said it himself. Don't take my word for it. Listen to him.
On the other side, you have people who hate America. And they hate it because it's run primarily by white Christian men. Let me repeat that. America is run primarily by white Christian men. And there is a segment of our population who hates that, despises that power structure.
They don't want them to have to go back.
But the strategy is...
people can come and work.
Do you understand, and I'm not saying this in a condescending way, you're smarter than I am,
But do you understand what the New York Times wants and the far left want? They want to break down the white Christian male power structure, of which you're a part, and so am I. And they want to bring in millions of foreign nationals to basically break down the structure that we have. In that regard, Pat Buchanan is right.
So out of his own mouth, he acknowledges this power structure of Christian white men. Not only is it a power structure, but it is a privileged structure because no one else, not a woman, not a minority, not a non-Christian, God forbid if they were Muslim, no one else could get away with threatening somebody in our society without Fox News and even liberals, not just conservatives, but liberals would have lost their mind. Now, this is one thing that pisses me off about progressives. Yes, progressives, turn up your radio. What makes me mad about you is that you see that the other side is intransigent. They are stuck in their ways and they don't give a damn. They are going to say what they want. They are going to do what they want and they dare you to say anything about it. But on our side of the equation, when somebody makes the smallest mistake, we put them off the air. Keith Olbermann put off the air because he made a contribution, a campaign contribution. One of the best voices for the progressive movement put off the air because he took his constitutional, his American liberty to contribute to somebody he believed in. I think he contributed $2,500, whatever the maximums were back around 2008. And now he's off the air because progressives apparently have no backbone. And then they stand idly by while guys like Bill O'Reilly are free to threaten and there's no repercussions. That is completely, entirely indicative of what is wrong with America right now, because they believe, conservatives believe, particularly conservative Christian white men believe that America belongs to them and nobody else. That's why you always hear this rhetoric of let's take America back. Let's take America back. From who are you taking America? And where do you want to take us back to? Please tell me. You want to take us back to when there was not only a power structure of Christian white men, but when it was also they were the only ones who could vote? Is that your utopia? Is that what you want to take us back to? Because everyone else is trying to get in America. Yes, we may have our rights. There's still a lot of people who don't. There's still a lot of marginalized groups that are fighting just for the right to marry whoever they want to marry, fighting to get equal pay. There's still marginalized groups on paper. And we're not just talking about marginalized in terms of how society views them, but there are marginalized groups in actuality codified. So that's what's wrong. We not only want to have equality and rights, but we demand the same privilege that you have, or your relinquishment of your privilege. See, you have to understand, they only want them to be able to protest. You remember well, back in the Affordable Care Act period, back around 2010. Do you remember how crazy and how rowdy and how just ridiculously asinine conservatives were acting at these town hall meetings? I mean, they were always ready to fight. They were always ready. And you know what? They felt like that was their prerogative. That was their First Amendment freedoms. And that's what they had the right to do. And they were going to do it. And nobody going to stop them. But when we turned and we saw shortly after, we saw Occupy Wall Street, they derided everyone. They made them seem like they were animals. They made it seem like they had no right to be out there. They want the right to be loud. They want to have the monopoly on protest. They want to have the monopoly on authority and power in the United States. And we see it plain as day with this idiot, Bill O'Reilly, getting away with threatening the reporter from the New York Times, and no one as so much as bats an eye. He doesn't miss a beat. There's something wrong with that picture. There's something wrong with that ideology. And you know what? Maybe that's part of the reason I'm here. I'm trying to help. I'm trying to save some people. I'm out here trying to reach and save Republican and conservative souls, because you guys are lost. You guys have completely lost your way intellectually and politically. You have lost your minds, because to be a conservative, you have to conform to the white Christian heterosexual male structure. You have to conform. If you notice, it's okay if you're a black person in the Republican Party, so long as you don't see something wrong with the structure, power structure. You only see something wrong with the black people in the structure. It's okay to be a female, but you can't see something wrong with inequity of pay. You have to really believe that everything is okay with the white Christian male structure, power structure. And the only thing wrong with women not getting equal pay is that they don't negotiate well enough. There is something wrong with being gay in the Republic. How can you be gay in the Republican Party when everything about you is an anathema to them? But you can be gay in the Republican Party so long as you don't challenge the white heterosexual Christian male structure. Matter of fact, yesterday there was an atheist at CPAC, the conservative convention that they have every year. There was an atheist, and she started talking about the demographic shift and how over the next so many years, there are going to be over 40 million voters who identify as secular atheist. And she tried to make, this is a black woman, she tried to make an appeal to them to say, we need to embrace atheists. You could have heard a pin drop in that room, because to them, accepting anyone that is different than what Bill O'Reilly said, white, male, Christian men, redundant male men, but you know what I mean. Anyone who challenges that structure is not welcome in the Republican Party. And you talk about, they have housebroken all of these people, women who don't see anything wrong with the Republicans. They only see something wrong with other women. Black people, they don't see anything wrong. Black conservatives, only thing wrong with black people. Only thing wrong with black people is black people. Nothing wrong with the system that has institutionalized racism. Nothing wrong with the system that looks at biased criminal statistics and automatically views black men and women through the eyes of criminality. Nothing wrong with that. You just need to pull up your pants. They have been housebroken. Nothing wrong with anything about the system except the people who have a problem with the system. And that is the type of mindset that they foster in the Republican Party. That's the type of totalitarian, authoritarian, just really the precursor to fascism. And I know Republicans like to run around saying communism, fascism, Maoism, Leninism don't know one from the other. But if you want to talk about the fascism, look it up in political science theory. It is a totalitarian mindset that means everyone must conform with a single ideology, mixed with conservative values, mixed with religion. That, my friends, is a precursor to fascism. And all of these conservatives, I'll try to save as many of you as I can. However many are listening, I'm going to try to share the truth with you. I'm going to try to help you out. There may not be any hope for you. You might be lost. It may not be anything we can do. You may be one of the 10,000 that are cheering on the end of Obamacare and need Obamacare so much that if you don't have it, you'll die next year. You might be that person. You might be so lost that you are aware of that and have no problem. But for the rest of us who realize that there is a privilege, there's not just a power structure, but there's a privilege structure that lets people like Bill O'Reilly get away with threatening people and no one says a word. But let me have done it. That's the thing about it, though. Cowards know exactly who they can say stuff to. I wish, for many reasons, I wish Bill O'Reilly would have tried me like that. One of the reasons I wish it is because it would be instant ratings. That would be great for the show, right? But besides that, I wish he would. Call me an angry black man. I'll just have to be that. Because what you're not going to do is exercise. It's not just about macho-ness. It's about, if you have the prerogative to threaten me and you have the privilege to threaten me in this system, then I will return in kind. Because are we not all created equal? Are we not all entitled to the same exact liberties that are afforded to us by the Constitution? So you're not going to get away with that with people like me. But unfortunately, it seems like he's going to get away with this and nobody is saying a word.
And until that moment,
no one is saying a word. Well, I'm saying something about it, and you need to say something about it as well. All right, when we get back, we're going to do our tribute to Leonard Nimoy and some other stuff. It's the Benjamin Dixon Show.
You're tuned in to the Benjamin Dixon Show. Join the conversation, 857-600-0518.
Looking for the right business opportunity? Need the right product, the right marketing plan, and the absolute best training in the world? Well, look no further. The Elite Team. Every leader in time excels. They believe the key ingredients in becoming successful in life and in business are just a keystroke away. Go to www.eliteteamsite.com. That's www.eliteteamsite.com. The Elite Team has a system in place that will move you closer to achieving your goals and dreams. Visit www.eliteteamsite.com or TonyFlemingEnterprises.com today.
College is important, but it can also be expensive. College Planning Services is a group of educators, administrators, counselors, and other licensed professionals that work together to provide the necessary services, networks, and information to reach students that are serious about getting a college education. College Planning Services partners with financial institutions, corporate sponsors, and other major players in the global market to strategize in building a pool of information regarding financial aid, scholarships, and funding information to assist students in preparing to access the essential resources to build upon their path to an educational future. Learn more at collegeplanningtoday.com and let us help you start your college career.
Do you want to take your business to the next level? Ultimate Business Solutions provides the support you need to increase your customer base and sell more products and services online. Specializing in graphic arts, web development, and internet marketing, Ultimate Business Solutions creates the face of your business. If you're looking for a custom logo, dynamic website, or popping marketing material, call Ultimate Business Solutions today at 404-704-2197 or visit www.ultimatebizsolutions.com. Ultimate Business Solutions. Let us create your future.
Do you have tax issues, owe back taxes, or need tax relief? Contact L&B Tax Service today. L&B offers you over 15 years of expertise and first-class tax service for individuals, professionals, and business owners with nationwide service. You can easily find a location near you. Contact one of our tax professionals through our website, lbtaxservice.com. That's www.lbtaxservice.com. L&B Tax Service Incorporated. Tax professionals that you can trust.
You've tuned in to the Benjamin Dixon Show.
Hey, no, no, hey, no,
yeah. So Bill O'Reilly gets away with threatening people, and no one in so much as bats an eye. And it speaks to the privilege that certain groups have that others don't. In particular, there is a privilege that white Christian males, heterosexual males for that matter, have that no other group has. And there's a privilege that conservatives in general want to assert, that liberals and progressives, we have the right to assert it, but apparently they're too scared to. I won't blame everything on the Republican Party, on conservatives, because there are a lot of soft-footed, lily-livered, yellow-belly, spineless progressives, liberals, who are so busy infighting, fighting each other, and have no hubris, chutzpah, enough to fight against the Republicans with the same intensity. So don't come, that group of liberals, don't come to me talking about what I said incorrectly. Come meet me over there at Fox News and let's talk to them about what they've done wrong. Or are you scared? So I'm not going to blame Republicans entirely. Now, I do believe Republicans have this totalitarian viewpoint that you have to conform or else you can leave. I do believe that that's entirely problematic, and it's going to be a problem for our country in the future if we just let it go unchecked. But who else is going to check it except the alternate ideology? So it's up to us. But speaking of that privilege, this week, 2 events happened that were interconnected. This week, we commemorate the 3rd year since Trayvon Martin was killed. Earlier this week, we saw the Justice Department say that they would not bring any charges against George Zimmerman. This cat, George Zimmerman, has been arrested 6 times. I believe 5 of those times, or 4 of those times rather, has been since he killed Trayvon Martin. People back during the trial, they were doing everything they could to sully the reputation of a dead teenager. Trying to make him look like the thug. Trying to make him look like he was this vicious animal. And they had to, I have to stay out of this debate group. I debate a lot, obviously. And in that group, one of the people posted the picture of the 6 mugshots, and they had to question, is there any validity to this? About the fact that maybe, possibly, George Zimmerman was the aggressor. Maybe he was the thug. I mean, he has 6 mugshots now. Hell, those of us who know this system never had to question who was the aggressor, who had the privilege, speaking of privilege, had the privilege to think he had the right to walk up on a guy, on a teenager, simply walking home and question him. We never had to question that. We knew. We knew exactly who the aggressor was. We knew who started the altercation because we've run into that before in our lives. I never would forget. It just happened. First of all, if it happens to somebody like me, I'm low profile as much as I possibly can be. But if it happens to somebody like me, you know it's happening to black men and women across the country every single day. I had a group of teenagers. I was fresh out of college, had a group of teenagers where I was taking them from church and I took them to go get something to eat. And there was a guy in the car behind us who started honking his horn and started yelling out the window, and he used the N-word. So the teenage boys in my car were ready to turn it out. It was 6 of us, one of him. I looked in the rearview mirror. It's this small, scrawny, nerdy looking, goofy looking little son of just couldn't win a fight against my 3-year-old, 4-year-old son. But he was talking cash money. He was talking all of this with so much confidence that I realized this guy has a gun. He has a gun, and he was the aggressor. He was starting the altercation, and Florida was a stand your ground state, is a stand your ground state. And all he needed was for one of my teenagers to respond, not even start, but to respond to the agitation and the aggravation that he was bringing us. And so I know from personal experience, matter of fact, here in Boston, I was stopped. I tell the story all the time because it just happened to me like last month, 2 months ago. I was stopped coming out of a sports bar, dressed like $1 million, as much as I possibly can these days. I was stopped by some random white guy questioning where I was going. There is a privilege that runs through the heads of certain types of people. It's not all white people. Yeah, okay, fine. We know that. Hell, That's not the question. The question is, does it run through enough people's heads such that they create a cantankerous situation that someone's life can be threatened? In other words, if it happens more than once, it's too many times. And it's happened to me twice. I mean, other things have happened, but that exact scenario where someone else instigates a confrontation, knowing that they have a gun and knowing that the law is most likely going to be on their side. So when we saw the whole Trayvon Martin, we knew the game. We knew people were going to run him in the ground. We knew they did everything they could to try to make Trayvon look like the thug. But time has told the story. George Zimmerman cannot stay out of jail. The only thing he isn't going to is prison. And that's a privilege. That's a privilege. He gets out of it. He gets out. I know a lot of people say he's Hispanic. Look at his family lineage and tell me what you see about it. His father had a relationship with the DA. His father had a relationship with the with the police department of Sanford, Florida. That's why he wasn't arrested in the first place. There's a privilege that goes across this country that really gives a certain group of people a prerogative to live and act and do as they please. And that's what we saw with Trayvon. And so in the same week, this guy, George Zimmerman, doesn't get a charge. It's the same week, 3 years ago, that he killed Trayvon Martin. But you know what? That's all right. Because it's proving, he is proving the point. And unfortunately, it cost the life of Trayvon Martin. But he is proving, George Zimmerman is proving to white America, he's proving to the mainstream media that all of your accusations of these young men being thugs, we know who the real thug was that night. All right. I've got some other stuff here, but I don't wore myself out. I mean, if I keep talking, I'll probably throw something. I might start acting like Bill O'Reilly. That's probably what we need. What if I was just as ignorant and arrogant and loud? Well, I really am. That's the thing. People who know me know that I am just as rude and arrogant and just as Bill O'Reilly. But I try within myself to be as nice and pleasant as I possibly can. You may not be able to tell through the radio show, but maybe that's what's needed. Maybe we need somebody to yell as loud as they do and don't care, as much as they do. But let me get off of that. I want to shift gears a little bit. I want to shift gears, and it's Friday, and normally I do a Freedom Friday, or we tried a Freedom Friday. We tried it, and we'll keep doing it. But somebody sent a tweet to me, and they sent it to me at the perfect time. They sent it to me at the perfect time, and they were talking about the importance of your mental health. Your mental health is greater than your career. Your mental health is greater than school. Your mental health is more important than your job. Your mental health is more important than the opinions of others. And they sent that to me on the exact day that I needed it the most. Yeah, this is a very hard shift. It's the end of the hour, and I just want to talk to you for a second. They sent it to me at a very important time because it was a time that I had to walk away from an opportunity that was very, very lucrative. Very, very lucrative. But the price that I had to pay was just too high. And sometimes you have to be willing to walk away from a situation, no matter how good that situation looks. My mental health was more important than money. And I got that, I knew it was serendipity because it was exactly what I needed to hear. And so I want to relay that message to you, everyone who's listening. You have to know your worth. You have to know your self-worth. You have to know the things that you are going to put up with and the things that you won't put up with. And once you get to a point in your life, it's the prerogative of age. It's like the benefit of being older. You get to a certain age where your no means no. And you know your worth, and you're not going to put up with certain things, and you're not going to allow people to treat you a certain way. And if you haven't gotten to that age, I encourage you, I hope, I pray that you can get there as quickly as possible, because, people will use you. People will use you, and it might not be malicious. You know what? They may not be trying to use you. They just don't realize who you are. No matter how many times you try to tell that person your value, you try to show them your worth, they just don't, it doesn't click and register because people are so singularly focused on their goals that they completely disregard your value, not realizing that if they appreciated your value, they could get to their goals much quicker. Isn't that the irony? I mean, if people just treated you with some respect and treated you and saw your real potential and saw your real value, that your value add, what you bring to the table, they could get to their destination much quicker. I mean, it's the same as in business. It's the same in relationships. It's the same across the board in family and friendships. If people saw your value and treated you at the level of your value, that the level of your value demands, I mean, they could get into the stratosphere. But sometimes people don't see it. And sometimes you have to walk away. And that was one of the days I just walked away from a great opportunity because they did not see my value. And I kept warning them. Like, hey, you know, you brought me on to do A, but you've got me doing X, Y, Z. You brought me on to do this, but you want me to do these errands, you know, what I consider errands. And, you know, my time is too valuable. You know, so I'm saying this to share this with you on this Friday, as you get ready to take your weekend. Rest your mind. Your mind is more valuable. Your mental health is more valuable. Sometimes you just got to walk away from it. If it's a job, if it's you make sure you have some savings, right? Make sure you got some money, make sure you can pay your bills. I'm not telling you to walk away from your job and you can't pay your bills. Don't call me asking me for nothing. But sometimes you have to know your worth enough to just walk away. And if I can dovetail that into Leonard Nimoy, one of his sayings is really profound. His saying, the ultimate saying, live long and prosper. Leonard Nimoy died today, age of 83. That's a long life. I mean, that's a prosper. I want to get there. I mean, 83 would be great. Let me see 83. But live long and prosper. And you cannot do that if you don't know your own value. You can't do that. You will shorten your life and you won't have any prosperity. But Leonard Nimoy, his character, I don't know much about him as a person. All I could tell you is about his character, Spock. The peace, the wisdom, the insight, I'm a Trekkie. So, I'm talking about all of the philosophical things, but it was a great ride. I mean, he was in the most recent Star Trek. It was a great experience. And, I have a clip here that I'll play at the end. But Leonard Nimoy taught us a lot. And it's a lot. If you want to know more about my mindset and where I come from, you can tell a lot about a person based on what they consume. And the only thing I consume more than Doctor Who is Star Trek. Granted, it's the next generation, but still, it still comes from the same cut from the same mold. And so Leonard Nimoy, he spoke to us constantly, always, over and over and over again. Live long and prosper. If this was a Bible show, which is not, but, I have to, it's just obvious, that he wants for us to prosper and be in good health, even as our soul prospers. I don't know if that's where Gene Roddenberry got that saying, but it's straight, it's the truth. We have to know our value. We have to take charge of our life enough to demand that we are going to live prosperously. We're going to live at peace. All right. It's the Benjamin Dixon Show. Catch me next week, guys. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 p.m. I'm going to leave you with Spock and let him speak for himself. Leonard Nimoy, dead at the age of 83.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Her ongoing mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life forms and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has gone before. Live long and prosper.
And until that moment comes, when we, the Americans, are able to accept the fact that on that continent we are trying to forge a new identity which we mean each other, that I am not a war, America. I am one of the people who built the country. Until this moment.
We are brothers. Not a question. Jews, Christians, Muslims. We're all in the same boat.
We need each other.
Love is the condition so hard. It may be that which holds down
Until this moment.
No.
Until this moment.
No.
Until this moment.
I come to you today to say that we can build a newer and better nation. I say we can do so, that we must do so, and that we will do so.
You've tuned in to The Benjamin Dixon Show. Visit us online at www.thebenjamindixonshow.com.